That year was the year that I realized I cannot work in the corporate world. It was just hell, honestly, just hell. It's like a now or never. Like, I know that I can do this thing. I know that I can trade. Selling art, just using that money to pay for the next couple of days of food. Once you've made a grand by sitting there pushing buttons, you'll never be able to work another normal job again. Started drinking again, buying bottles of wine just to fucking warm us up at night time. And I had my Britney moment, shaved my head, didn't want to fucking see my friends because I felt so embarrassed because I'd have to answer the question, how's that trading thing going? This is my story of how I ended up in Peru trading currencies full-time for a living. So my main objective in life has always been to avoid full-time employment at all costs, and as you can imagine, this has led to a very roller coaster journey, let's say. Lots of ups and downs, but before I get into that, I want to provide some context of how we actually ended up here. So I grew up in Ireland, in a very rural part in County Clare. We're talking grass in the middle of the roads. Very small town mindset, which I realised after I left, but really, really nice community vibes. Everyone knows each other and just a real homely vibe to it. So when I was 15, my parents told me that we're going to be moving to England. So then it was all guns blazing towards just getting the grades to get into the school in England. So I ended up getting the grades, moving over to England, and this was when my party era started, you could say. And it was literally just focus on doing the bare minimum at school and then going out and enjoying ourselves the weekend. So when I was 16, I got my first job working in a supermarket. Completed my 2 years at sixth form in England, and it came to the time to apply for universities, and I remember it like deadline was approaching and I hadn't even fucking looked at any courses or anything that I wanted to do because there was nothing that I was called to do. I didn't want to do anything, you know what I mean? I didn't have any dream or goal or profession that I thought, okay, this is what I want to spend my life doing. Entrepreneurship wasn't even an option. Like, I just fucking, that word wasn't in my reality. No one was talking about that. And bearing in mind, at this time, me and my friends had set up a business in the school doing taxi rides, etc. But we weren't viewing it as that. Again, it was just a means to fund our lifestyle. And yeah, so then just university was the next step. So did my first 2 years, and then in my third year we had a placement year. That's basically a year of experience where you'll go and get experience on whichever job that you're actually doing. That year was the year that I realized I cannot work in the corporate world. It was just hell, honestly, just hell. Like, especially in London in wintertime, like you're just getting up, it's dark, you leave work, it's dark, and it's just this. I remember sat there, I remember vividly being sat there, and the CEO walked past, and I just thought, you're my boss's boss's boss, and I fucking wouldn't want to be doing what you're doing. If that's the top of this game, then I don't want to play this game. But again, not making the connection that, okay, I need to be a business owner. Again, in university, I'd also set up a business, but I wasn't thinking about it as entrepreneurship. So this whole time I'd always had this way to earn cash on the side, also while also earning, always having a job, a part-time job. But when it came to actually graduation, I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? So me and my friend said, look, there's no way we're getting a job now. Let's get an apartment here. We already have a network of people that we know, let's say customers at uni. Let's set up a business here selling to the existing people that we already know. So we graduated, said we'd do that and save up while we were saving enough to go to travel Southeast Asia. Got the apartment in the city in Nottingham, and yeah, set up our business there. It's going good. Every month, making more and more. And then fucking COVID happens. So that put a means to that end, and I ended up moving back home with my parents. I remember being in the flat as we were both about to part ways, me and Plev, and he was asking me, what am I going to do? And I said to him, look, about a year ago, after I graduated, I set up or signed up to this fella in Manchester who was making bank, and I signed up to his signals. It was the only person I've followed that was involved in the trading space. So I'm making a couple of grand a day. I was like, what the fuck is this? Seemed interesting. Started paying him every year, but sure, he wasn't teaching you how to do anything. He was just giving his signals. And yeah, a year went by, paying him every month, but I didn't place a single trade. And I didn't want to cancel it because I was like, I would be cancelling my dream of making it in trading. And it was the only thing that I could really think of that okay, I could see myself doing this, because there was no boss there. You didn't have to, your income wasn't tied to, or it wasn't capped, let's say. So I remember Plev saying to me, you need to be careful about that industry, everyone's a scammer there. And fucking 6 years later, we're both still trading. So me and Tom both moved home. We had our apartment in Nottingham, but moved back to our parents' house because we didn't know what was going on with the whole COVID thing. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had the idea of trading. I was paying this guy every month, but again, entrepreneurship wasn't in my head. Trading was like, okay, yeah, I could do this. Lockdown happened, spent the first few months just getting obsessed with producing music, just all day, every day doing that. And for the first time ever, it was like, okay, I have something that I'm excited to do that isn't partying. For the first time ever, I had like this fire inside me. And I first saw this like obsession come out. Then I remember buying, in the same Amazon order, I bought Call of Duty. I think it was Warzone at the time. And my first ever trading book. They both arrived, put Warzone into the PS4 and played one game, and that was the last time I ever turned on my PS4. To this day, I don't even know where it is. But open up that trading book, and from there, that then became my new obsession. Start producing music, and just literally just went all in on it. I said, you know what, now is like, it's now or never. And then I realized, okay, this is something that I actually can do. This is something that I can see myself doing for the future. Didn't have to have a boss, didn't have a cap on earnings. I was like, okay, yeah, this is a bit of me. So at this stage, I was all in on trading now. This was my thing. This is what I'm gonna do. And this was the first mistake, I would say. It was not setting the expectations clearly for my family and friends and everyone. It was also because I didn't just know. I didn't know that trading was going to take as long as it was going to take. So here's me in my room, focused on fucking becoming a millionaire trader, telling everyone I'm going to be a millionaire trader, and having no results to show from it. And this just going on for fucking months and months and months. Around this time as well, I was asthmatic, so I got called for the COVID vaccine really early on. And this was when I just come out of my fucking party stage, and without even a second thought, I went and I got the fucking jab. And I came home that day, and that day really, like, I'll remember that forever. It shook me up, because I was like, what the fuck have I just done? I was so focused in my bubble, like just literally just being in a bubble, just partying all the time, okay, now I'm going to do this. I deleted all social media at this point, so I wasn't seeing anything online, and I didn't even give it a second thought. And it scared the shit out of me that I'd gone and done this thing without even stopping for 10 minutes to consider it. That then sent me down this fucking rabbit hole. I didn't want anyone else to experience what I'd experienced, so I then just went fucking dark and deep and just researched everything, started questioning everything. This was my conspiracy era, and I was like, oh my god, everything's a fucking lie, the government's a lie, they're fucking out to get us. And that then, coupled with me just being in my room all the time, did not help my relationship with my family. They all thought I was fucking crazy, and I was pretty crazy at that point. And yeah, just producing like a 72 slide document on why people shouldn't get the fucking COVID vaccine and why this whole thing is a fucking scamdemic and everything. And yeah, that was a period then when I was doing something that my parents weren't necessarily on board with. Of course, it's fucking trading. The stats speak for themselves. Only a small percentage of people make it in this game. So I'm doing this thing that it's more than likely it's not going to work, and I'm also just being this fucking crazy scientist talking about how the government's out to get us. The relationship was just getting worse and worse, and my worldview was changing more and more the more that I was figuring out. All the stuff that I was figuring out at this point, I still fucking believe now. Like, I'm glad I know that, but I don't need to focus on it, if that makes sense. There's no point in sitting there just finding out all this negative stuff. It doesn't do anything to fucking help us. Being aware of it, yes, but focusing on it, no. So I'm living at home, paying rent in my flat in Nottingham, and then my parents are on my back, like majorly, like, you need to stop trading, you need to do something else, etc. So I said, look, if I pay my rent, if I pay my dues at home, can you just stop asking me to give up trading? And yeah, of course they agreed and they were very obliging, but that was again probably my next mistake, because I wasn't earning money. I was thinking that I was going to be making money much sooner from trading, so then paying 2 rents, and my money was just going down. Then all the money was gone. Started spending my overdraft, just kicking the can down the line, thinking this is my first year trading, bearing in mind, fucking delusional, thinking I don't have a mentor, I'm just going to do this thing myself. And yeah, the relationship was just getting much worse. And I just, I'd come downstairs and it was just really tense. And bear in mind, we're still in lockdown, so there's nowhere else I can go. And it was just getting really unbearable. So to the point that opportunity came up, and me and my friends decided to move to Ibiza. So booked flights to Ibiza, booked a villa for 3 months, and put it all on a credit card, because this was an investment. We're going to be able to go over there, earn money. You can make some serious dough over there, doing taxis, being a rep, etc. And that was the plan. And then 2 days before we fucking flew out, Spain announced lockdowns on flights. All the super clubs shut down, so tourist season was now cancelled. So we were flying out in 2 days. We paid for everything, so we went out anyways. Bear in mind now, all of this is now on a credit card. Spent a couple of months over there, and eventually just got to the point where it's okay, I've got fucking nothing left here. A couple of lads living in a villa. 3 out of the 5 of us were trading in the morning, so it's brilliant. Yeah, cool, let's fucking living in a villa trading, making like £20 on a good day. Not enough at all to sustain our lifestyle. And I remember I got an email saying your annual subscription is confirmed, and it was to a software called Lucid Charts, and it was £100. And at that time, that was like half of my money. So it broke me. I was like, fuck. I literally felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. And I was like, look, I've got enough left to get myself home. Let me book this flight and yeah, just hang up this current escapade. And it's funny, that Lucid Chart, we just joined the program, paid $6,000 to join this program, and they're using Lucid Chart, and it was such a, I don't know, like a funny transportation back to that time, where back then £100 completely broke me, and now we're paying $6,000 to actually use it. But at that same time, we'd just been dumped for the first time in my life, so it was this period where I was just feeling shit about myself. I was like, oh fuck, I've got fucking no money, you've just been dumped, I'm a loser. All of it did affect my self-image, but also gave me a lot of fuel, a lot of motivation and drive. So this is when I really upped the ante on the work. Came back to England, cranking out like 12, 15-hour days every day, just focused on making this thing work. At this time though, we were learning to trade from a network marketing company, or a multi-level marketing company. Basically fucking just a legal pyramid scheme. But business model works if you put in the work, and I was putting in the work. So eventually started earning from that. First £500 a month, then £1,000 a month, then 2,000. And then some shady shit went down with the company. They wanted us to change to a different company. I said, you know what, fuck it. I'm spending more of my time focused on selling and not even fucking trading. So we ended up leaving the company. That was my only income stream at this time, just to go all in again on trading. And I didn't have a mentor. I was trying to figure everything out myself. And I became this fucking crazy scientist, mapping out every hour of the 24-hour clock on the whiteboard. I had 5 TradingView layouts, and it was just super complex. And I was trying, again, thinking the more I add, the more I learn, the better my trading will be. Complete opposite thing. Like, we need to have simple trading, which I didn't fucking know. I didn't have a mentor. I was just trying to do it all myself. And it was good. I did learn so much in this period. But then, because I didn't have any income, I started having to do little side gigs. So I was doing everything I could, apart from getting a full-time job, because I thought that would fuck up my trading. In hindsight, it would have been the best thing for my trading. But just working as an extra on movie sets, working in the O2, setting up concerts, doing a bit of gardening, selling CBD, anything and everything just to pay rent and be able to, again, focus on trading. So in this period, I'm, again, hibernating, Didn't want to fucking see my friends because I felt so embarrassed because I'd have to answer the question, how's that trading thing going? And I just didn't want to answer that question. So just more in my cave, relationship getting worse with my family, my hair is getting longer. I'm just becoming a recluse, just focused solely on making this trading thing work. The whole time in this delusion that next month it's going to be, I'm going to pass this challenge now. Next month I'm going to make a withdrawal. So I'm going to make even 2% on a 100k account. It's enough. I'd have to work a whole month to get that. And just month after month after month in that delusion that I was going to fix my life with 2% on a 100k account. And it was just this cycle, and that went on for over a year and a half. Things again getting worse and worse in my family. But the strange thing was, at this period I was meditating. I'd found meditation maybe a year beforehand, meditating heavy, 20-30 minutes, sometimes an hour, every single day. I was in this weird situation where my internal world was better than it's ever been. I was more present than I'd ever been. I would love an hour and a half on the tube because I would just sit there with myself, or I'd have my pens and my fucking notebook, and I was just happy, had a quiet mind, and just really just liked myself. But then my external world, I'd come downstairs and my family would just see me as this fucking long-haired freak who's a loser and is not earning any money. So it was this huge conflict inside myself. And I was allowing it to impact me. I was starting to listen to more and more what they were saying. And also I didn't have any fucking results to show from it because, again, I was not fixing my shit. So it got to the point where, again, relationships getting worse and worse. So me and a friend booked flights to South America. And in the lead up to this, trading was going good. I was putting 200 quid into an account, flipping it to 1,000, withdrawing that, calling the market really accurately, passing phase 1 repeatedly on funded accounts, and then just fucking up phase 2, calling out. Like, my market direction was so on point, but I wasn't making any consistent money. I would always self-sabotage it. I was always find a way to fucking give back my earnings. I wasn't holding my trades. And yeah, I remember leading up like a couple of weeks before we flew out, being in the gym with my friend Liam. And past phase 1, I was on to phase 2, in the gym trading, or like in the cafe outside the gym. Entered in some GU shorts and hit a workout, went back to Liam's house, and I was sat there. Trade was going really well. I was a couple of 100 quid away from fucking passing the challenge and going to South America with a 100k funded account. And whatever came over me, I just pushed, chucked on 10 lots. At that point, price just immediately reversed on the 1 minute, had a big deep pullback. I hit my max daily drawdown, and then price reversed and continued to my take profit. And I remember that moment like it was yesterday, like saying to Liam, just being so embarrassed to say to him, like, bro, you won't believe what I've just fucking done. And he's like, what is wrong with you? And at the time I was like, what is wrong with me? But it's the whole thing of my nervous system wasn't regulated to make that kind of money. I didn't believe that I could make that much money from trading. My self-image wasn't the trader who could do that. So of course, no matter what happened, I would, even if I found the winning trade, I would always find a way to give it back. And that was completely subconscious. I was just thinking, I'm a fucking retard, like, what's wrong with me? Anyways, 2 weeks later, we had the flight out, bought another challenge, passed phase 1, and went out to South America with £400 in my bank account and a phase 2 challenge. Sure, of course, again, I needed the money. So a month in, I had blown my challenge account and had about a couple of 100 quid left. As the weeks went on, Chile was more expensive than I fucking anticipated, and sure, of course, 400 quid isn't going to last 3 months anyways, but it was more expensive anyways, and staying nights in a hostel was about 20 pounds, way more than I'd anticipated. So that was no longer an option. We're like, okay, we cannot stay in hostels anymore. Didn't even have a tent at this point, so we're just literally getting buses to different parts of northern Chile and finding the Plaza de Armas, meeting some people, finding where it's safe to sleep, and then just planting down, making a makeshift tent from clothes and stuff, just sleeping under the stars. So at this point, I hadn't been drinking. I'd quit alcohol, but in this period, started drinking again because buying bottles of wine just to fucking warm us up at night time. And yeah, it was a completely different experience, of course, to anything I'd ever experienced. So we're touring around, living out of the bag, and me, this person who's been just so focused on work, for the first time, I was now kind of unable to work. I was still trying to trade, fucking hotspotting my phone, or hotspotting the laptop from fucking trading in a ditch by a river. But for the most part, I was like living raw, let's say, for lack of a better word, but genuinely just fucking like shooting what we fucking kill, or eating what we shoot. Like living on a couple of quid a day, sleeping outside, and yeah, it really did. This was a period where I'd first experienced, okay, what is now slow time. So I'd had my party stage, then my work obsessed stage, and then this was a different period where I was seeing a different side to how life could be lived. Really enjoying it. And it's like, okay, cool, I could get used to this this kind of way of living. But again, money was a big issue. So we were selling art, and yeah, just using that money to pay for the next couple of days of food. I remember we got to the north of Chile, up in the Atacama Desert, and reached a place called Arica. And I had 60 quid left, and just over 2 weeks left till my flight back to the UK. And me and my friend decided to part ways. So we were on the Peruvian border, and Peru was much cheaper than Chile was. I was like, okay, look, I can make my £60 that I have to my name go further here. So a friend recommended a place, Arequipa, to go to. And I remember looking on Hostel World, booking a hostel for 3 nights, five quid a night, and 45 quid left, set off to Peru, and just didn't know what I was going to do for the next 3 weeks. Didn't know anybody there. And I remember arriving at the hostel and going for a piss in the toilet and seeing a Mr. T sign saying, "We're hiring, we need you." And just this relief came over. I was like, okay, cool. Went straight to the bar, said, can I work for you guys? And the next day I started working. And that next day I remember walking up the stairs of the hostel we had a rooftop terrace, and I met a girl called Dariana, and yeah, my life changed from that point. And I remember that I arrived on a Friday night, and everyone was going out in the hostel on Friday night. I didn't have any money, so I just went to bed. And this was Saturday, and I remember thinking, if I don't go out tonight, I'm going to make a massive mistake. So I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I said, fuck it, I'm going to go out tonight. And we're walking to the club, and Dariana says to me, she goes, "You're not going to take your flight home in 2 weeks' time." At the time I was thinking, fucking I damn well am. But I missed it, didn't end up taking the flight, and 11 months later I asked her to marry me. So ended up spending the next 4 months or so, Jesus, it's a bit windy, working in the hostel. And yeah, some shit went down. Peru ended up closing for tourists again. This whole tourist thing was really screwing me over, and they ended up not paying me, so it just fucked me over financially again. So screwed me over. I moved to a different, doing some construction and stuff, anything I could, because I was really loving this lifestyle here. Again, barely checking the charts, living in the sun, fucking just going out at the weekends, beautiful food, beautiful people, and completely plugged out from reality, let's say. Not posting anything on social media, just really enjoying this relaxed way of living. No responsibilities, but again, I still had my credit card payments that I was fucking responsible for. So it could only go on for so long, and then eventually my dad was like, you know what, fuck it, just come home now, I'll book you a flight. And in a couple of days I was back in the UK. I remember we did an ayahuasca ceremony, my first one, and 2 days later I had my flight home, boom, back to my parents' house, who thought I was a freak. And It was okay, look, now is the time to fucking sort my financial situation out. I need to fucking just fix this debt, sort my shit out, and then build from there. So one of my buddies ended up getting me a job at a fintech consulting company he was working at. And I remember him saying, I'm not referring you to a job with your hair down here. So I shaved my beard, cut my hair, and I remember changing my LinkedIn bio and my Instagram bio, and just feeling like this horrible feeling, like just this sickness, like I'm literally putting on this mask, pretending to be this corporate person. And I felt like I was doing a disservice to myself. And again, of course, you have to play the game, but I remember that feeling of just like real sickness and dissonance inside. But anyways, ended up getting the job, and geez, it was the best paid job I'd ever had in my life, and I had the least amount of work to do, because before my role came available in project management, I was in charge of data management. And at the same time, even though I was getting paid more than I'd ever been paid before, I still felt like shit, and I would just hate this dreading feeling of showing up to the Google Meet calls or whatever was on Teams, the calls, and just feeling this, getting more and more depressed, really, earning good money, but just feeling really just shite, and it's just being very strange. But anyways, the whole thing of this company and the fact that I was in this new role of data management it was the first time I'd ever seen what proper organized data could do. And it was the first time that I saw, okay, if the data is input correctly, it can tell us a story. If anything, slight thing is off, that data is completely invalid. So my job was basically going in and fixing parts of the data that were input wrong. Let's say like a spelling mistake or properties missed, let's say. And I was like, holy shit, like if you really do input the data properly, as the data builds up, it really gives us a serious amount of information. And I was like, I'm not using any of this in my trading. So then I started applying that to my trading, started building out proper journals and processes and formulas, etc. And that, of course, led me to lack on my little work duties that I already had. I had a meeting and they asked what's going on, and I fucking stupidly told them that I was trading, and that was the end of that job. So I'd lost the best job I'd ever had, that was then fixing my financial situation. My parents were fucking fuming, of course, naturally. And then they found out that I'd bought a new challenge while I was still paying back this debt. So they were furious. And then the final straw was Easter Sunday. I found a tab of LSD in my room that had been there from before I went to South America. I was like, this is probably old, it's probably not going to do anything. It was a beautiful sunny day. Parents went for a walk and I popped it in thinking it was just going to touch the edges, maybe I'll just see some colours or something. Quite the opposite. It was fully potent, and I was fucking getting sucked in and out of reality, having the most spiritual experience ever, and just seeing all this stuff about how I'm hurting my family, seeing all this stuff of how I can do things better to improve the relationship, and just feeling like, okay, look, I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk to them, speak to them, apologize for all the shit I've done. And sure, I came home and had to explain to them where I'd been all day, because my car was still there and we lived in a pretty rural place. I couldn't walk anywhere, so they knew that I was around. I explained to them, look, I took a tab of LSD, this is what happened. And I remember just the fear in them. Like, as I went to try and hug my mum, poor thing was just horrified by her child, who was feral for the day, coming back covered in fucking dirt from the woods. And yeah, that was the last straw. So shortly after that, they asked me to leave the house. They said they could no longer fund this addiction, and I stand by them. I probably would have done the exact same thing. Their thought process was that they couldn't support this, and if I had to fend for myself, I'd finally hang up the boots and just stop letting trading consume my whole life. But if you're trading, you'll know that once a trader, always a trader. Once you've made a grand by sitting there pushing buttons, you'll never be able to work at a normal job again. And the thing with trading is we know what we're doing wrong. So we know what there is to fix, but actually fixing it that's the difficult part. And honestly, that's now what I spend most of the time with the guys doing. Some of the guys already have their own strategy, but it's just getting them to do it's accountability. It's if you have to tell someone, okay, this is what you do this week, and someone's checking in on you, you're just much more likely to do it. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that actually impacts the guys that I work with. It's getting them to fucking do that, because that was my issue. I couldn't do what I knew I needed to do. Anyways, where was I? So I got kicked out of the house, hopping around different gaffs in London, and just working like a dog, just doing over 30 shifts in a 30-day month. So I'd leave one job, go do a night shift in some other job, leave a cafe and go work at the O2, and then go from there, go work in a restaurant, and just not going out at all, just saving money. At this period, Dariana had booked her flight to come over to the UK, and we were just living in any place that we could find, short-term leases. And I remember working in the cafe and one of my leases running out, and hadn't found anywhere else to stay, and just this pure feeling of like, fuck, where am I going to sleep tonight? And just feeling so shit that I'd been a shit friend because of trading. I was just so embarrassed by it, and I'd fucked up my family relationships because of it, and just feeling like I had burned all my bridges and having nowhere to go. And I remember thinking, my manager saying to me, look, you can sleep out the back in the storage room if you want, and I won't tell anybody. And I was like, fuck, I really, really might actually have to do that. Ended up staying at a friend's house, but it was just this horrible feeling of like, fuck, like how have I been doing this for so long, and I know what to do, but even when shit gets so bad, I'm still fucking it up. And yeah, just real low point this period. But this was the season of earn money, fix the finances. So kept working every day, saving everything, not skipping back on food, not really eating, fasting, health just going down and down, losing so much weight. And then I had my fucking Britney moment, shaved my head, meltdown, but just focused on work. And we were earning money. And Dari, God bless her, working anywhere we could in London, just saving everything. So did that for about 7-8 months and saved up about $7,000, paid off all of our debt, and booked one-way flights to Vietnam. And in this period, we landed in Vietnam, and it was like I had just gone through that period of my family looking at me as a failure so much that it started to rub off on me, and I really felt like a failure. I felt like I didn't have the confidence to do what I needed to do in trading. So the focus was, okay, let me build a second income stream outside of trading. That led me to develop, and I said, you know what, let me look at my trading now, figure out what's actually broken, because it's not strategy. Like, I've had a million working strategies. It was always me. So I used the data, what I'd learned from the previous job, started really dialing that in, building a system around that, and then building a system around the actual trading process. So the whole time I was maybe fucking doing my weekly forecast 70% of the time, doing a daily review sometimes. It wasn't systemized. And what's that James Clear quote? We don't rise to the level of our expectations, we fall to the level of our systems. It's so true. So I took that concept and was like, okay, let me systemize this thing. So even on the bad days, I at least know what I have to do. That then was a period of I was developing what is now the FXOS, and what is now what I actually use with the guys that I work with to get them profitable. So that was that season, just building and dialing in the processes, and I realized that my self-image had to get fixed if I was to make it in trading. So this is when I started doing daily push-ups, getting up on time. Like, if I say I'm going to get up at this time, I damn well get up at that time. Rebuilding back that self-trust within myself that I had lost. Because if we ever want to make it in trading, we have to fucking believe that we are the person that can do that. So rebuilding my self-trust, dialing in the systems and the back end, and then eventually bought my funded account, which I still have today and I'm making withdrawals from. And what really helped about Vietnam was being surrounded by other traders. So we were staying in Da Nang, and there's a really big nomad community, and with any fucking nomad community there's going to be a bunch of traders there. So that really helped me to witness, to be around people who were doing what I knew that I could do. So that was like subconsciously rebooting that and rewiring that to the fact that, you know what, these guys are doing it, I can fucking do it. So that's really what helped me pass that funded challenge, and really, like, you know what, these guys are making a living off it, I can do this, I know how to trade. So we were living in Vietnam, I had developed this self-trust again, trading was going good, people were approaching me, asking me to teach them, and everything was going really well, just loving life over there. And then we had the next disaster. So we were using multiple bank accounts because we'd spread our money out, and we thought we had $3,000 in this particular account, and my phone had been robbed a couple of months or a period before, so we hadn't checked that account, but in our heads we were like, okay, cool, we have $3,000 in there. Eventually, when I got access to that account, found out there was not $3,000 in that account, and in fact we had just gone back into our overdraft. So it was this fucking hell. Like, everything's going very good, but we've just been fucked again financially. Or we weren't in our overdraft, but we'd been basically we had next to nothing. And in this period, my relationship with my parents was still fucked. I'm cursing a lot, but it was still really bad, and it was making me feel horrible. Like, I couldn't, even though we were living in paradise, fucking eating in restaurants and cafes, 3 meals a day, going to the beach, living in paradise, we had a pool, but I felt something was off inside me because my relationship with my family was off. So we planned to head back to Peru, but on the way we said, look, let's pay the extra bit of money, let's go visit my family, try and repair this relationship. So we stopped off there for 10 days and it did the exact opposite. My family didn't want to hear about the trading thing and ended up having this huge fight, and it just ended up leaving to Peru even worse than before when we'd arrived. And yeah, it did mess me up, but also I was like, okay, look, why am I trying to ask them to believe in me? I have to show them. So we arrived in Peru and had the funded account, but our financial situation has been screwed. We had literally next to nothing. I think at this point we were back in overdraft. And I was like, you know what? It's like a now or never. Like, I know that I can do this thing. I know that I can trade. I've been trading for 4.5 years at this point. So let me actually put my money where my mouth is. And yeah, I had the system, I had the FXOS, I was tracking my data properly, I had systemized everything in the back end, I had my strategy. So from that moment on, I became profitable, long story short, and I traded our way out of debt into profit and haven't looked back since. And literally since that moment, in the last 12 months, for example, I've been profitable 11 out of those last 12. And I know now that no matter what happens, no matter what shit situation that we're in, I can always trade my way out of it because I believe in myself enough to do it. I know that even if the going gets tough, trading is a skill that we can have for life, and even if we have got £100, we can utilize that to trade our way. So now, fast forward to current day, things are much better with my family. Things are, haven't been this good in years. Trading's going brilliant. Started teaching people more and more, and it really helped me to simplify my rules, because I was Mr. Complex and have all these fucking extra things which were making money, but I couldn't teach it to somebody because it was so super subjective, let's say. So in the last 12 months, initially I was trading higher time frames, making a couple of percent, average of about 3.8%. I know exactly my numbers, and I wanted more. So then I went to lower time frames, and then I had some of my biggest months, 10%, 13%, 7.5%. And then I had my first losing month after 10 months of being profitable. And I was like, okay, what's going on here? And in this period, trading had gotten much more stressful. I was enjoying it much less, and it's because I'd gone down to lower time frame. So I'd gotten greedy, I wanted more, and I felt like I was then going to war every day when I'd open up the charts. And I was like, you know what, fuck it. This trading, I love trading, but right now I'm not loving it at all. So a couple of months back, this coincided when I started teaching people, and I said, you know what, fuck it, let me go back to what I love doing, and it was making trading more relaxing, going up to the higher time frames, using a simple mechanical system. And yeah, that's where we're at today. So teaching people, all the lads are amazing, and it's so cool to see now that the system is simple, everything's dialed in, it's a mechanical process. It's like, okay, look, first of all, are you following the rules? Yes or no? If you're following the rules, then brilliant. What's the data showing then? And then every week we can take trades, and then I can hop on a call with them, look at their trades. Okay, this one you shouldn't have taken, remove that. The ones you did take, okay, brilliant. And it removes all subjectivity. It's like no longer a case of, is someone going to be profitable? It's, if you follow the system, you will be profitable, and I'll fucking hold you accountable to it. So it's trading's now more enjoyable. I'm making money, the lads are making money, and it's just a very nice place to be. And it did not need to be that fucking roller coaster journey. Again, everything in divine timing. I don't regret any of it, because it all led me to where we are today. But yeah, I've realized that the journey to profitability, it does not have to be that long. And what really made me realize that was because some of the lads I was working with, we'd be working together for 3 months, and they would become profitable. And part of me was like, no, that can't be right. Like, they can't skip that journey. It took me 4.5 years. How could it take you fucking 4 months? And then I realized that there's prop firms like S&B Capital, where they literally, if someone's taken longer than 6 months to be profitable, they give them the boot. And that's because they have systems in place, they have a playbook built, they have a system, they record their data. So if you're doing all the stuff that's required to be profitable, then you should be profitable. And if you're not, then it's something got to do with you. You're just not cut out for it. So it's like, holy shit, we now have this thing here where we can actually shorten the gap from someone starting trading, and if you have the natural tendencies to it, it can be within 6 months that you can get profitable. A normal person, if you're, let's say, not cut out naturally, you don't have the natural, it's all got to do with personality type. But if you don't have that personality type, it might take you a year. But it's so crazy to see that now, compared to, in my head, was it takes you years and it takes hard work to get profitable. So that's where we currently are. Sat here in Peru, in Arequipa, where I initially flew to. The lovely Dariana is behind the camera here, eating her coca leaves. She doesn't want to come. But yeah, that's it. So lads and lasses, if you are on your journey, it can be shortened. Again, always say this, but profitability is not a destination. It is a decision. If you do the things that are required to be profitable, you then are a profitable trader. So it's enough waffling from me. I hope you enjoyed this, for those of you who are still here. And yeah, I will see you in the next one.